Daniel Cormier believes the stoppage in the fight between Bobby Green and Jalen Turner at UFC Austin was the worst stoppage in UFC history. On his YouTube channel, DC said, "Guys, I've said time and time again, when someone falls face down, there's no need for a standing 8 count. In boxing, there's no need for follow-up shots in MMA. For some reason, the referee just doesn't want to stop the fight. Bobby is laying flat on his belly, getting just hit over and over and over until eventually, the referee mercifully stops the fight. I thought it was the worst stoppage in UFC history. The concern on everyone's face octagon side was crazy. I saw the girl next to the octagon turn away. She turned away. Not a little girl, she's a teenager, 19 or 20. She turned away because she can't watch what's going on in the octagon. He made a bad mistake. It was terrible. There was no reason for a guy to take that amount of damage after the fight was over. It was very clear that the fight was over." Kevin Holland gives his take on Ian Garry and his wife.
But I want to know, like, what did she really go and do that to him? Because isn't she older than him?
She's 40. He's 26, right? 20.
That's not that bad. Not that bad. Not like she's like 62 or something. You know what I mean? She
45.
You know what I mean? She's barely.
62 is a cutoff.
They've been together for a few years. She probably just barely turned 40. You know what I mean? Like, met her when she was in her 30s.
So look, we know.
Oh yeah, he met her in her 30s. She was like 36, 38. You know what I mean? But I mean, so she did saw him out. But did she get with him before he was big time?
That's the point of the WAG.
So it was before he was big time.
Yeah.
So she's seen him on the local, but he was big on the local circuit though.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Next Connor.
That's what they do.
So they switched professions. They said, okay, now this MMA thing is the big thing. They said, She said, yeah, it might be easier. Like the football players, the basketball players, the soccer players, the baseball players, they all hip to this now. So let's go to the dumb motherfuckers, the fighters. They get hit in the head for a living. Like the last name thing, bro, that's on you. I wouldn't take anybody's last name anyway. I like my last name. Holland is pretty cool. We got whole country, you know what I'm saying? Construction. Like it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, I can see, but honestly though, you can see kind of why he would take her last name. Because like, think about it. His first name is Ian and his last name is Gary.
It's like 2 first names.
That's 2 first names.
Yeah.
Like he probably was like one of them kids that always really wanted the last name.
Like,
so he took the last name. Yeah, so now he's Machado. So he finally really has a last name. I can see that.
Yeah, that's what
But
happened.
what's up with the living in the house? I mean, but he cooking though. It's like in-house chef.
I know he's cooking.
You know what I'm
That's the
saying?
problem.
He's serving up like, and then I heard he was serving up nothing but meat, but then somebody else said they now do vegetarian. So who's eating the meat?
Stephen Thompson is very against Leon Edwards receiving a middleweight title shot if he defeats Colby Covington at UFC 296. Recently, Leon said that there's nobody left that's exciting at welterweight and wants to become the first person from the UK to achieve double champ status. Speaking to Submission Radio, Wonderboy responded saying, "I think that's crap. Because there is, man. There's a ton of people. I think it's smart for him. He's only been the champ for 1 fight, and after those 2 fights, I feel like if you're going to go up to 185, give the guys at 170 a chance to get up. Have at least 2 or 3, 4 fights before you go on. Clean the division out. He hasn't done that. Clean the division out, and then go up and fight at 185 because there are some really great, interesting fights at 170. You've got me, you've got Shavkat, you've got Ian Garry, who's undefeated, working his way up as well. There's so many guys that you could fight at 170. Come on, bro. I think he's just looking for a money fight at this point, which is why he's saying that. But I think he spoke too soon because there's some really good guys in the welterweight division. The guy that I'm going to be calling out is whoever is champ, and I believe it's going to be Leon. It's not for the title. I'm not going out there and calling out, I want the next title shot. I want whoever's champ. And as of right now, before that fight, it's going to be Leon. I'm going to be calling out Leon. I'm going to let everybody know, UFC, I'm coming for Leon. That's a fight that I thought was going to happen before he even got the title shot. There's a few times where I called him out, and he wasn't obviously biting because he was on a streak. But that's something that I thought was going to happen before he was a champ, and it never did. And now that he's champ, I think that would be a banger. He's only been fighting grapplers here pretty much. He's been fighting grapplers. Ever since the GTA 6 trailer came out, the MMA community has been comparing the characters in the game to Sean Strickland and Nina Drama. Sean Strickland reacted to this. He reposted this to his Instagram story. He wrote, "I'd rather be in Rockstar games than an EA game." He followed up with this. He wrote, "Nina, see, I told you that you look like a Mexican."
I hear Edmund, Miles, Carl. I don't like this guy. But this man can grapple. The man can do some jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying do jiu-jitsu, but the man can do some jiu-jitsu.
Michael Chandler recently gave his take on all of the recent drama regarding Ian Garry getting kicked out of multiple gyms. Chandler labels himself as a we kind of fighter and Ian as a me kind of fighter. He also says that Ian would show up late or just not show up at all, and it would tick him off. Speaking to MMAfighting.com, Chandler said, "Mine and Ian's relationship is funny because I've got to be honest with you, I think he's a little bit like what I wish I could be mentality-wise when it comes to my fight camp. When I go into my fight camps, don't talk to me. Don't look at me sideways. Don't speak to me unless spoken to. I kind of turn into that guy, where I take it so seriously. And the way he's so happy-go-lucky, he doesn't care about anything whatsoever, right? So a differing in kind of mentalities when it comes to stuff like that. That doesn't mean his is right and mine is wrong, or vice versa. But then when it comes to that, I know obviously, I was just down in Florida last week. I was training with Vicente Luque, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Those guys are obviously fighting in a couple of weeks in Vegas. I'll be out there. Ian chose not to do his camp, this camp in Florida with us, so it's interesting. But as far as Ian goes, man, he's got a ton of talent. He's got that Irish mystique to him, the way that he speaks and his accent, all that kind of stuff. He's got the talent to boot, and he's got the confidence. If he keeps his head on his shoulders, he could be champion one day for sure. But he's got a tough test ahead of him in Vicente. And both of those guys I would consider teammates pretty much right now. Probably Vicente even more because I've trained with Vicente for years and years, and Ian has now kind of bounced around a little bit. So we'll see how it works out for him. He's very much a me kind of fighter, whereas I've always been a we kind of fighter. Focus on the team more than myself. He's more of a, hey, I know exactly what to do. I'm the guy who steps inside the cage kind of guy. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out for him. But I don't think he's a bad dude. On Ian showing up to the gym late, Chandler continued, he doesn't show up on time all the time and he doesn't show up at every practice, which really ticked me off. But that ticks me off about anybody else. There's only a few people I would actually say have perfect gym etiquette when it comes to that, Gilbert Burns being one of them. Shout out to Gilbert Burns, one of my favorite fighters. But as far as etiquette goes, I don't even really know what gym etiquette he's out there supposedly breaking, but to me he was always a pretty cool dude. I never had any problems with him, aside from the fact that it could be anybody. It could be the sweetest person in the world and I'm still like, hey, get away from me, dude. I need a second. I'm in training camp right now. I'm kind of a psychopath, so you can't judge my judge of character during training camp too well. And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Nate Marks. It says, never forget how Ian Garry treated Magny if you ever start feeling sorry for him. The second one says, can people stop talking about double champ before they even win one belt? It's really getting out of hand. And the final one says, Ian Garry crying foul over the recent drama with his wife is absolutely disgusting, considering his behavior against both Neil Magny and Jeff Neal. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.